A pleasant morning to our panelists, the chairman, and our research advisor, Ms. Mary Joy Hernando. Before I proceed to the presentation of our research study, let me first introduce myself. I am Daniel Rupert Y. Ravidas, the lead researcher for this study. And with me today are my co-researchers, Ms. Denise Doblin, Ms. Katrina Magno, Ms. Ini Dinawanaw, Ms. Janina Marie Pearl Waskin, Ms. Aismay Gako, Mr. John Cloyd Berame, Mr. Eddie Inot, and Mr. Sean Kizon. Our study is entitled Live Experience of Students Towards Online Learning Challenges and Adjustments Made. And to begin the presentation of our research study, let me introduce to you the background of our study. For centuries, we have been using the traditional way of learning, where students learn in a physical classroom with their teachers and with their classmates. But suddenly, COVID-19 happened, a pandemic that shook almost everyone in the world, and a pandemic that forced every learning institutions to adapt to online learning. So our study is conducted at the University of Cebu Main Campus Senior High School Department, one of the universities here in Cebu that despite the pandemic still continued their classes using online modalities. The overall objectives of this study is to study the lived experience of students towards online learning. Specifically, it will study the challenges that they have encountered and the adjustments that they have made to cope up with the said challenges. To continue with the introduction of our study, I will now introduce the theoretical background of our study. So this study is anchored mainly into the theory of OCL by Harasim that was published last 2020. The theory of OCL, or also known as Online Collaborative Learning Theory, is a learning theory that promotes the use of internet to create educational settings that promotes cooperation and knowledge building. It is also a modern learning theory that emphasizes on using the internet to transform the way on how students learn. And that concludes our theoretical background. And now to introduce the review of our related literature, here is my co-researcher, Mr. John Cloyd Berame.
Good morning, everyone. A related literature by Magsam Hall, published last 2020, entitled The Philippine Higher Education Sector in the Time of COVID-19, has seen a very big issue in online learning. His study found a clear gap in online learning between those who can afford the resources for the new educational platforms and those who can. This means that the people who can afford better internet service providers and connection, those who can afford learning materials for the new mode of learning, are more capable of making online learning viable. Now, to discuss our related studies, here is Mr. Eddie Inot.
Good afternoon to our panelists. So I am here to present a study done by Alipio and was published last 2020, entitled Education During COVID-19 Era, Are Learners in a Less Economically Developed Country Ready for E-Learning? In this study done by Alipio, found out that the majority of the Filipinos are not yet ready for online learning. He also stated that despite the attempts to embrace the new learning space, financial and readiness issues continue to be a big barrier that is stopping it. And to present to you our statement of the problem, here is Ms. Gako.
The main point of conducting this research is to explore the life experience of a student towards online learning. Furthermore, the researchers seek to answer the following question. First, what are the challenges of a student during online learning? Second, what are the adjustments made by students and how they cope up with the new mode of learning? To discuss the significance of our study, here is Ms. Waskin.
Thank you so much, Ms. Gako. The findings of the study will provide a new perspective towards online learning. In addition, this research will help school administrators to be able to adjust and to handle online classes. This research will also help facilitators because the result of the study will help them to understand the situation more and guide the teachers in improving the quality of their teaching style. This research will also help the parents to understand the situation of their children and guide their children to their studies. Also, this research can be considered as a guide of the students in dealing the challenges that they will encounter in online classes. Lastly, this research paper can be used to our future researchers that will study challenges and adjustment made of online learning. Now, to give a brief discussion of our methodology, let us give all our attention to Ms. Magno.
Thank you so much, Ms. Waskin. Now, I will present our research methodology. Our study mainly focuses on live experience of our respondents. With that, we use the phenomenological approach. It is stated in study done by Criswell last 2013. That phenomenology method that aims to investigate people's individual life experience and to find explanation for the phenomenon in question. Our study was conducted during the pandemic at University of Cebu main campus. That respondents' need for our study should be grade 11 student enrolled at any academic strand at University of Cebu main campus and must be using online modality. We researchers made an interview guide and used voice recording in gathering data. The question we asked were, first, what are the challenges that you encountered in online learning? Second, how did you cope up with the challenges that you encountered? Third, based on the scoping strategies, what are the adjustments that you made? Now, to discuss the data gathering and analysis procedure, let us all listen Mr. Quizon and Ms. Gaco.
Thank you, Ms. Magno. The researchers started the data gathering procedure by submitting a transmittal letter. While waiting for the approval of the transmittal letter, the researchers began to brainstorm and finalize the interview guide to be used. After that, the researchers picked their informants using purposely sampling method. Then, the researchers will schedule the time and date of the interview to be conducted using available online video conferencing platforms such as Google Meet and Zoom. After the interview, the researchers now start to compile the data gathered and start to analyze them one by one.
To analyze the data gathered, we'll be using thematic analysis. This is accomplished through examining the data similarities and relationship. This involves a 6-stage process. First is to familiarize information or data by reading it multiple times. And second will be coding. It is in this stage, phrases and sentences from the text which is found as relevant will be highlighted. And next is to generate themes based on the highlighted text. Then it will undergo a review for clarity and clearness. Finally, on the last stage, the final list of themes is now generated with understandable names. From here onwards, we will start to write our analysis of the data.
Now, for the definition of terms. There are 2 terms needed to be defined for the readers to understand this paper easily. First is online learning. Online learning is the type of learning that is enabled electronically through electronic technologies. It is a mode of learning that doesn't require a physical classroom setting. Next is lived experience. It is defined as the knowledge of people gained from direct interaction and involvement that they went through with life.
Thank you and good morning to everyone. I will start by talking about the presentation, analysis, and interpretation of data. We were able to extract 5 major themes with our gathered data with the help of our coding table. The first 2 are inevitable problems and personal problems. Inevitable problems are problems that students cannot avoid or stop. These problems are mainly related to the unreliability of internet access, the learning environment, and the lack of technical devices available to the majority of students. The first sub-theme is unstable internet connection. We all know that internet connection is the most necessary element needed in online learning. And having an unstable connection would be the biggest challenge a student will encounter. The second sub-theme is noisy environment. We all know that we cannot control the noise around us, and too much noise has been a problem to many students due to the fact that it can distract the students and it will eventually affect their academic performance. Power outage is the last sub-theme. Managing the power supply is a thing that you cannot do. According to Castillo 2020, few students will have trouble connecting to the virtual classroom if a blackout happens. Following the major theme, inevitable problems, is the second theme, personal problems. Personal issues can arise for students, interfering with their academic performance. It is stated by Gillette Swan that students in this online learning mode can experience personal issues such as anxiety, which can lead to a variety of mental and physical health issues. Under this major theme is the sub-theme annual health condition. We all know spending too much time on our gadgets can harm our health. The University of Minnesota specified that students' lifestyles are significantly influenced by technology. In fact, technology has a major impact on students' health as well as their academic performance. The second and last sub-theme is financial instability. Finances provide learners the resources needed in learning. According to Alipio 2020, when food and other necessary expenditures are taken into account, it is clear that the majority of respondents, considering their financial constraints, place a high value on education. If financially unstable, students may find it hard to continue their education. To proceed to the remaining themes, here is Miss Annie Dinawana to resume the talk.
The third major theme instructed in our coding table is dealing with stress. Stress is inevitable in students' life. According to Ramos and Rook, the stress in their lives can influence how students cope with and deal with university's life. As we conducted the study, we discovered that there is a sub-theme developed from our main theme. The first is facing the hectic tasks. Most of the students' reasons of being stressed are that they have a plenty of schoolwork given to them. Furthermore, the will to excel in study often leads to abuse and thus injure moral, even physically. According to Jane and Singhai, this is one of the leading causes of stress, failure, and emotional breakdowns. While the other also deals with uncooperative classmates, which have been a problem to many students that contributes as their stressor. So, these are what students struggled during online learning.
Now to continue with our fourth major theme extracted from our informants, our fourth major theme is finding alternative solutions. Alternative means available in another way. So the existence of inevitable problems or problems that simply just cannot be fixed because of its nature, sometimes we just have to look for simple solutions that might improve our current situation. And that's according to Chaney 2011. Under finding alternative solution is our sub-theme change in network providers. Network providers allows us to connect to the internet, which allows for online learning to happen. Although the presence of different network providers here in the Philippines is quite visible, the strength and the stability of these said network providers varies from place to place and varies from what network provider you are using. So at some place, the certain network provider is strong and at some place it is not. And that's according to Amadora last 2020. For the second sub-theme under finding alternative solution is looking for a stable connection. A stable internet connection is essential for online learning to successfully happen. But the stability of our internet connection is affected by our location. At some point in our house, the internet connection is stable and at some point it is not. So, and that's according to Trafficom 2020. So in order for our informants to address the issue in instability of internet connection, they find that certain place in their homes or in their houses where the internet connection is stable and they do their online classes there for it not to be interrupted. For our fifth and last major theme extracted from our coding table, it is called being a responsible student. Being a responsible student means that the learner is doing what he or she is expected to do as a learner and also throwing in some extra efforts for it. Under being a responsible student is asking teachers. Teachers are always there to answer our questions regarding the topic. And according to Chin and Osborne in 2008, asking questions is the first step of in gaining more knowledge and in solving puzzlement. For the second sub-theme under being a responsible student is paying more attention. Paying more attention simply means putting away any distraction that might disrupt the learning experience of a learner. And according to Boykin and Noguera, showing curiosity, showing enjoyment in the task, and communicating in a positive manner is a way of showing that you are paying more attention in the class. For the third and last sub-theme under being a responsible student, we have time management. Effective time management allows students to accomplish more tasks in a short period of time. And according to Makan et al. In 2000, time management is necessary for you to perform better and to achieve the goals that you have set. Now let's proceed to the summary of findings, conclusions, and recommendations. For the summary of findings, after gathering and interpreting the data gathered from our informants, the researchers were able to make three major themes for the challenges, namely, inevitable problems, personal problems, and dealing with stress. Under inevitable problems is unstable internet connection, noisy environment, and power outage. And under personal problems is lack of motivation and financial instability. Under dealing with stress is facing hectic tasks and dealing with uncooperative classmates. And for the adjustments, the researchers have gathered two major themes, namely finding alternative solutions and being a responsible student. Under finding alternative solutions is changing a network provider and looking for a more stable internet connection. And under being a responsible student is asking teacher, paying more attention, and time management. Based on the findings of the study, the research concludes that online learners face different challenges in this online learning setup, namely inevitable challenges, personal problems, and dealing with stress. And furthermore, to cope up with these challenges, online learners have to make some adjustments like finding alternative solutions and being a more responsible student. Based on the result and the conclusion of our study, these are our recommendations. And this concludes the presentation of our research study.